So do we want to just start this thing?
Yep. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Power Hour, where we talk about the upcoming patch notes that drop, which is seemingly are every Wednesday now. Today's patch notes dropped, and there have been some changes, and we're gonna go through, talk about them, and give our thoughts and our feelings on how they go. So. Without further ado, let's get into the talent changes. The only one was cleanse this week. The tooltip was updated to reflect that cleanse can no longer be self-cast.
Yeah,
That's fair.
Yeah, which I found out which was yesterday. I found out that you couldn't self-cleanse with it anymore, which was fun.
Yeah, this was a good tool for confused young souls like Jimmy.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, being able to self-cleanse, like, that is kind of broken. Like, that makes Uther just violent.
Well, you can't really self-cleanse out of stun, so this just makes it so you can't preemptively do it for the unstoppable trait.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to. Is, preemptively doing that before stuff gets wild. So, but there's a lot of hero changes this week, starting with the Assassins. They're trying to encourage people going back to Hinterland Blast now by buffing the scaling on it a little bit. So it's still the same damage, 411 damage, but instead of 4% per level, it's now 4.75% per level. They've also increased the cooldown from 90 seconds to 120 seconds.
I don't understand this change, to be quite honest.
Well, they're trying to make all of these damaging ults, it's a slow rollout where they're trying to make them more impactful when they're used.
Yeah.
So people have to think about using them, making sure they're hitting their spots when they use them, because 0.75% doesn't sound like a lot, but it is quite a bit.
Now, if I remember correctly, we've talked about this before, and I think there was a question on this, but I think the plus 4.75% per level, that's from like level 1, right? So, I mean, every level, this is building up till level 10, so it should be significantly more damaging at level 10, or am I reading that wrong?
No, you are correct.
Okay.
So, what was a 16-point increase per level now is a 19-point increase per level, 19 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely makes a difference because, that's basically the difference between 160 extra damage at 10 to 200 extra damage at 10. So,
yeah. And I agree with increasing the cooldown on that because it is going to be more impactful when it lands, and having a highly damaging ultimate on a 90-second cooldown is kind of absurd. They may tweak that in the future. I think 120 seconds is a little too high, in my opinion. I think 110 would probably be more fair. But that's me, and kind of weird on some things.
Well, yeah, I think it's taking the character into mind, too. Falstad's a very strong champion that gets underplayed or misused a lot when in the quick match, but in the hands of players who know what they're doing with him, he is very effective at doing what he does. And to up the damage on that, pro players or players who are very familiar with Falstad are going to start securing kills a lot more often with Hinterland Blast. And, I think it's just going to be one of those things where players who are good with Falstad will really feel the changes, and players who just play him casually probably will think, oh man, that cooldown takes forever now. I'm going to start using Mighty Gust.
Right. So, any other thoughts on that, Jimmy?
Not really. I think that the big one is next, for this patch at least. So let's jump into that. Greymane, he just came out, but he's also getting some pretty significant changes, I feel like. Just quality of life changes. Health increased from 1876 plus 4% per level to the same health, but plus 4.5% per level. And health regen, the same exact thing. Same exact regen, but plus 4.5% per level instead of plus 4. Gilnet and Cocktail gain a mana reduction from 80 to 70, cooldown reduction from 9 to 8, And the Perfect Aim talent is getting changed for its mana restoration, decreased from 60 to 50. Razor Swipe, the Worgen Q, its talent, the Unfettered Assault. I really like this one. No longer increases the Razor Swipe cooldown. It gives the greater range on it, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Inner Beast, the Insatiable talent, now maximum mana restoration, increased from 120 to 140. Dark Flight cooldown reduced from 6 to 5 seconds, and Disengage cooldown reduced from 6 to 5 seconds. So, I mean, quality of life changes all around for Greymane here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm currently working on a Greymane build for Blizz Pro that should be going up tomorrow. But what I like the most is Razor Swipe getting changed. That cooldown was just kind of silly, and I didn't really see a reason for it. Let's see what else.
Yeah, I mean, I always avoided that talent just because of the cooldown increase on that. I was like, why would you? I mean, the cost benefit was like way more negative than I felt the benefit was.
Yeah, and to be honest, Razor Swipe wasn't something I take on Greymane.
Mm-hmm.
I use them pretty much exclusively as a hit and runner, and just to use the Worgen form just to close the distance at the very end and give that finishing blow and then get out. But the Razor Swipe distance may make me change that a little bit. I'll have to play around with it and see how it goes. But like, I definitely like the longer distance. It means it'll hit more people, which obviously leads up to more damage. And really, it's good. But the other talents, Insatiable, like, I don't really take that. I think that's on the same level as his Human Range Extend, and the Human Range Extend is really too good.
Oh yeah,
opinion.
I agree.
You take a talent, and now you have Rainer range all of a sudden.
Now you're able to play just that much safer in human form.
And to couple that with his Inner Beast skill, you're attacking almost like you're permanent inspired. So it's not that big of a deal. The Dark Flight and the Disengage getting reduced is wonderful. That's something special right there, because that's going to make him a lot more elusive. It's going to get you out of a little more hairy situations. If you thought you were safe to get that kill, and then all of a sudden you're not, like you got baited hard. It's going to help you disengage and reset the situation. The health buffs to him, I don't know if they were needed. I mean, the health buffs are great, but I don't think they were warranted in this case. I think Raymane's problem is more of people kind of being confused on how to play him. Instead of playing safe and using that range and that attack speed to poke people effectively. I think people are like, yeah, werewolf, and trying to go ham on people, and that never led to positive things.
Yeah, and that's almost
he's not Illidan. He doesn't have innate regeneration on auto attacks in werewolf form. It would be dope if that was a talent, but like I don't think it was warranted. But it's gonna make him stronger. It's gonna make him a lot more pickable in the coming meta, I feel like. Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, I like the approach they took, because his win rate has been climbing, but it's a little bit on the lower side compared to some of the other assassins. So they took a small approach. Now he'll roughly gain an extra about, I believe, 11 or 12 health per level. The mana reduction on Gilney and Cocktail and the cooldown reduction is pretty nice. I think just playing it safe and doing some minor adjustments and see where he's at after that. I mean, if these little changes bumped his win percent up like 2% or so, or 3%, it'll be a it'll be enough to where they can go, okay, he's good for right now, and if something happens, we can address it in the future. And if he still feels not strong enough, I'm sure they'll take a buff to some of his damage or something, or maybe his range. I don't know. I think it's one of those things, though, where people are still learning how to use him, and we really don't know about Greymane yet. It took a long time for us to really know about Jaina. I mean, Jaina was so, considered low tier, and she kept getting minor buffs and little things applied to her, and eventually, all of a sudden, she was just in the meta in every game. So I feel like with him in scenarios, it's going to be more like Jaina as opposed to Kelthus, where he came in and was instant impact, So I'm glad that they're taking these small approaches.
Yeah, I believe you meant Lunara, but I got you.
Or
You're good. You're good. But yeah,
the daughter of Cenarius.
Yes.
I know my lore. Haha.
But yeah, this isn't a lore show, so it doesn't matter.
Darn it.
But yeah, Greymane, I haven't played enough of him to really, I don't know, feel like these changes are necessary, but they're. I do think the cooldown reduction on Darkflight and Disengage are huge.
Yeah, those are probably the biggest changes. A full second off of his form change and move away are pretty big.
Mm-hmm. But anyways, the rest of the changes are relatively quick and kind of in line with the fall stat changes, so we'll just get our thoughts on these. Sergeant Hammer, Blunt Force Gun, damage is increasing from 365 plus 4% per level to 500 plus 3% per level. So just more damage overall to that ultimate. Try to encourage people to use that more. It looks like just from caster math, this should scale just a bit better earlier in the game, and I think overall it's better because it's only a 1% decrease of the scaling, but the initial damage is 500 versus 365, that's a huge amount of damage in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, it used to scale 14 per level. Now it'll scale 15. So it actually scales more per level and does more damage off the jump.
I was going to say, I think. But I think that overall, it's a buff. It's not even going to slow down late game. It's just going to stay superior the whole way through because the initial damage increase is that high.
Yep.
I mean, if they had to take it down to 3%, because if they kept it at 4% per level, that
thing would spiral out of control.
Yeah, it would. If you take that stupid talent everybody takes at 20 with the orbital gun or whatever it's called, I think that could break shields.
Yeah, it already can, I believe.
It cannot.
It keeps them in line, or it keeps them where they're at, depending on the angle.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps them from regenerating at any point.
Okay.
But if you break the shields, they're not regenerating. That core is taking damage every time, and I know I'm not the only one who gets completely irate when they see that stupid bullet traveling across. They suicide in just to fire that gun at the shortest possible distance to get the most damage out of it. And I'm not the only person who's like, that stupid hammer thinks they're so cool.
I do think this is a preemptive sort of buff for when Li Ming hits, because she is going to be far away. She's going to be escaping. She's going to be a problem for Hammer with her orbs and whatnot. So this will kind of be like, oh, she thought she could teleport away, or we just need to put some damage on her to scare her off her position. Blunt Force Gun will do that, as opposed to, you probably aren't going to want to take Napalm Strike against her.
No, absolutely not. You take Napalm Strike, Ming Li, whatever. The Diablo 3 wizard, it's just going to shred her. Mm-hmm. She has almost no answer, especially if Li Ming goes arrows build. That's almost it's not going to end well for Hammer. Hammer just simply does not have the tools to deal with her. So yeah, it's probably a preemptive. Get out of my face, you little turd.
Yep.
So yeah, Arthas, I guess we're going to move on. Summon Sintragosa is getting changed. Damage increase from 205 plus 4% per level to 255 plus 4% per level, and the cooldown increasing from 80 to 100 seconds. So very similar to the fall stat changes. I feel like we should have your friend on, Charlie. I can't remember his name. Digi, yeah. I know he just started playing again, and I know he loves Arthas, so I'm curious what his thoughts might be on this as someone who has a ton of games with Arthas.
I think he's not going to like this particular change just because the impact of it is so small. It's only an extra 2 damage per level, and that 20-second cooldown is kind of severe for that increase. Summon Syndragosa, I mean, its main purpose is to be a giant slow that wrecks enemy engagements or gives you a really beneficial engagement. And to have 20 seconds extra on that cooldown is more annoying than it is a buff. It doesn't make it more impactful, and I think this is actually a nerf when it comes to Arthas.
Do you think they're trying to encourage more people to go army?
No, you see, I think people just misplay Arthas a lot, and people play army all the time when Syndragosa is the tool. The whole reason you play Arthas is to get early picks, create a disadvantage level-wise by roaming and just using his raw early game power, and then snowballing that lead with things like Syndragosa, with a tool like Syndragosa to shut down towers, force pushes, keep lanes down, make bad engagements for the enemy where they have to walk through a giant ice field to even get to you or run away. I mean, I've seen it used that way so many times where it's not the damage. You don't throw it out to hurt the enemies. You throw it out to slow the enemies or shut the towers down and fight them in their base. So a bigger cooldown is just a nerf.
Willie, any comments?
I don't play Arthas, so I have no opinion on this.
Okay. I don't either, so that's why I kind of sprung this on Charlie, since you have a good idea on how Arthas plays.
Me on Arthas is like grabbing hold of Frostmourne itself. It's not a situation you want to be in. Really.
He's very fun, but it's all in his early game, and using Syndragosa, I believe so. Yeah. I don't know. I think they're just taking the wrong approach, because their idea here is we need these ultimates to do more damage, and they're going to be more impactful, so we'll increase their cooldowns. But you're increasing the wrong thing there. I mean, if you want, make the slow longer, make the radius bigger on Syndragosa. You know, don't just put its damage up 2 points per level, because you're hitting an extra 20 damage at level 10 instead. Like, that's an extra second per damage.
That's negligible.
Yeah. That's no good.
Yeah.
No good, Wizard. Be nicer to the Lich King.
So moving on, ETC Stage Dive is getting change damage increase from 155 plus 4% per level to 201 damage plus 4% per level. Very similar to the other ultimate changes we've seen in this patch. I don't feel like this is really going to change how people play ETC at all, and Mosh Pit is still going to be the number one ultimate for ETC. I just don't see this having an impact.
Yeah, I mean, at least they didn't increase the cooldown on this one. That you can say that.
Yeah.
There have been times where Stage Dive can be okay on really big maps. Like, I've taken it on Blackheart's Bay before to get around, but that was a long time ago. And I mean, while its impact is nice and everything, it's still a not Mosh Pit. I mean, they could have upped the damage 250 on this thing, and I don't think people would take it.
No, because I mean, you're giving up the utility of a potential
team
two to three player stun that they're completely taken out of a fight, or you just get to focus on those three that are in the mosh pit. It's just it's hard to balance stuff like this. I mean, it's not quite as bad as the situation with Sylvanas, but it almost feels similar to that, where the silence is just so good. There's never a good reason really to take possession. I mean, in this situation, like you were saying, maybe it's map specific, but you were even more like you were saying though. You said it was months ago that you took Stage Dive, so
yeah, this was in the alpha.
Okay, so it was like a year ago.
It was a long time ago. I mean, God, I can't even think of a way you could take Stage Dive to where people would want to take it. I mean, right now it's at a 75-second cooldown. If you brought that thing down to like 30, maybe we could talk. You know, like give it like, okay, I'm gonna get 4 stage dives for every one mosh pit. I could at least wrap my head around something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But at that big of a cooldown for the little meaningless damage that it does, it's just not good. It's not a talent that's going to be taken.
Willie, any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement with you guys. Like, the utility of Mosh Pit is just way too good right now to sacrifice that. There might be some highly situational situations. Wow.
It's all good.
Where stage dive might be a thing to take, but I don't see it. Like, I don't see it happening. Mosh Pit is just simply too strong of a control ability in order to sacrifice that for stage dive.
The only time I've ever seen stage dive and be like, oh yeah, that was awesome, stage dive's cool, is when it comes to preventing a boss cap or stealing a boss. Like, those are the only times you're glad to have stage dive.
Yeah.
And even then, if you're in position, Mosh Pit does it better.
Exactly. Like, if you're that far out of position as ETC, where you need to take stage dive, there's something wrong. You should re-examine how you're playing him.
Maybe you just backed, to be fair, and you want to jump right back in, or you just came up from the graveyard. There are small situations where it's it's hard to say that a global teleport is so bad in comparison to another ultimate, but that's the situation he's in. He has the opportunity to have a global teleport, and it's like slapping somebody in the face when you think about taking it. It's just so dumb. Like, you can't even you can't even justify a global teleport. That's how good Mosh Pit is.
Exactly.
So
let's go ahead and move on to Johanna.
Yeah. Same boat here. I mean, Falling Sword.
I don't know. I think the cooldown's been decreased from 80 to 60 seconds, and you're not slow anymore while you're airborne, so you don't move real slow, which increases the distance you could go potentially.
That's fair.
So again, I think this is a counter to the wizard coming up, because she's going to be far away, and the last thing she needs in her face is a very angry Natalie Dormer.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
She will get Mei Ling out of there in a hurry, and Johanna is tanky enough to eat the damage she can output. And plus, if Joe's in her face, then Mei Ling's effectiveness is severely impacted, because the bulk of her damage is from those long-range arcane orbs. At least I feel that's where the bulk of her damage is going to come from. But I mean, if someone's in her face, those arcane orbs do nothing. They're tickles,
Yeah.
So, and plus, it's still, I don't remember if knocking the airborne knock-up disrupts channeling. I don't think it does.
It's been a while since I've used it, so I have no idea.
But once again, condemn. You're right in their face for a condemn. They've either got to break that or it's getting broken, and then they're gonna die. So, I mean, I may actually start trying it.
Yeah, I might play with this just to see how it works. I mean, the cooldown reduction puts on the same cooldown as Blessed Shield now, so I mean they're pretty comparable now, and they kind of accomplish the same things but in different ways. I mean, this is more for if you're up against, I feel like, a ranged heavy team that, like we were talking, the wizard, you want to chase them down and be able to pick them off, or try to get them to have to peel away from your team and not be able to damage your team, which is the whole purpose of a tank in this game. And yeah, I could see this being played around with and see if it works.
Yeah. I mean, I still think it's in the same. I just think that Blessed Shield is that good, but at least with the same cooldown, it does have a chance to be picked, like you guys were saying. It's just hard because I don't know how strong Li Ming is going to be, but is she going to be strong enough to actually hurt Johanna? Because it feels like nothing can hurt Johanna except user error. Like Johanna just walks through things. It's like, oh, that's cute. You're doing damage. Okay, you're stunned. Okay, I'm bringing you closer. Okay, my team's going to take care of that. I'm going to keep walking here. Like that's how she always is when in the hands of a good player. And
Johanna is the uncle from Rick and Morty. I'm walking here.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness.
My first Rick and Morty reference.
There we go. I'm proud of you.
But Blessed Shield is that good. But like you were saying, this opens up different opportunities to close gaps and chase people down.
It's been so long since I've seen it. I forgot it actually knocked people up until you mentioned it. So that is a bit of a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now I just got to figure out if it stuns, if that knockup. And Mike, sorry for the background noise.
Dude,
that.
It's all good.
My kid is very excited about something.
How dare your child be happy?
I know. I should put her back in the box.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that I think this is going to be a good way to chase down highly mobile mages, especially post 20. Because Johanna doesn't have flash or flash.
What's What's the level 20 upgrade for this? I can't remember.
What it does is while it's in the air, Holy Bolt's raining down on the enemy, 78 damage plus 4%. And it reduces the cooldown of Falling Sword by 2 seconds for every enemy hit.
Ooh.
So if it's used in a fight above a minion wave, if you're fighting the enemy on top of their minion waves, it could potentially, let's say they have 7 and you hit 3 enemies with it. That's a 20-second cooldown reduction. So, I mean, there is potential for Heaven's Fury. You can't not take it.
I know, Indestructible is so good. I'm just crazy theorizing here. So I think this change is a to be determined on judgment on it, but it potentially is good.
I think it all hinges on something one of us should know, but none of us do. So that's interesting.
What does it? If
knock-up actually interrupts channels or not. I believe I will
find out.
I feel like it does because I think once you're in the air, you're not still you wouldn't still see Lily's jugs or.
I'm pretty sure it is considered at least a mini stun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, but again, I'll experiment and.
Kelthus knocks people out of stuff, doesn't he?
With the
gravity lapse,
that's
considered a stun.
Okay, we'll have to go try it. Let's.
All right.
Did your magic?
I know
you're playing a game with us.
Did we want to? Obviously, I think this might be the most impactful change. Muradin Avatar is getting pretty significantly changed. Basic attacks during Avatar no longer stun the target. Health bonus increased from 1022 plus 4% per level to 1124 plus 4% per level. And the cooldown is reduced from 100 to 90 seconds. The stun is huge. This is insane.
It's a backhanded buff to all channelers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty much you hit the nail on the head there. Anybody who has a channel ability is going to be very grateful for this. And I think Avatar's still good.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All that health and now on a 10-second less cooldown, it's nice. I mean, it makes Muradin be able to engage and stay engaged in things he might not be able to do normally, not in Avatar form. But the no mini stuns is definitely a nerf, and it's going to change the way that you are able to engage Muradin, which is nice, I guess, if you like using channel ults.
Yeah, the thing that I'm definitely going to watch Enter the Storm tomorrow, just to see how all that changes, because they did not update for today's patch when it dropped. So The games that were played today were on the old patch, not this one. So Muradin was still doing his mini stun, but I am genuinely curious as to how this shakes up the tank meta, just because that mini stun is no longer there. It's now much harder to interrupt the channelers. Is this going to bring Nazeebo back into the mix? How much more effective is Lily going to be? I feel like Johanna's going to be a even bigger priority now, just with the sheer amount of stun she does.
Yeah.
And the control she offers. I mean, Muradin has great control, but Joe can do it just as well. And she's got essentially a self cleanse every couple seconds. That's going to be really hard to deal with. So we'll see how this pans out, but I'm really curious as to see how far Muradin falls in his priority. He's by no stretch a bad hero still, but now that this knocks him down a few pegs.
I feel like it might take a week or two to really kind of figure it out and just see how impactful this is. Because, I mean, obviously we can talk about these changes all day and theorize stuff, but until we see it in practice, like something like on ETS tomorrow, we just won't know how impactful this is in real time. But I think it will be. But I think it's a very easy guess to lead to that.
And one of the comments on the patch notes page from Rakasha raises a good point. I mean, does this make Chen does this make Chen a little more viable now? Because technically Chen is a channeler. That's his trait.
Yeah.
Will this allow him to see a bit more play, because the counter to Chen is Avatar and just start punching him in the face.
Yeah,
and then what's Chen gonna do?
And Zetlos follows up with an interesting observation. Now this makes it so that Medic isn't going to be stim droning Muradin and have him just sunlock City there. So that's good to see.
Yeah, I think that was probably the biggest problem with the mini stuns.
I said that when Morales first came out, like stim drone, Muradin when he's Avatar, it's going to be hilarious. And everyone's like, no, that's stupid. Then people started doing it. I'm just sitting here sipping my tea.
Yeah.
That's none of my business.
That's not my business, though.
At all. Zex never has good ideas for when it comes to swirly stuff that's going to work out.
But yeah, I think that's kind of it. Any final thoughts, Charlie?
I'm glad they're taking these approaches. I'd rather see a tweak every week than not hear anything from them for 2 months.
Yeah.
Because the game becomes bland when it's the same things over and over again. Even if for a week something is broke and everybody's playing Greymane now for this entire week for some reason and his win rate skyrockets 10%, I know next Wednesday that they'll tune it back down. And I love this. It's the game is more interesting now to me than it's been in a long time, which is just amazing.
So overall, this week's patch changes: thumbs up, thumbs down, neutral.
I'll say thumbs up cautiously. Although if they want to make hero heroics more impactful, they need to either make bigger changes or not scale up the cooldown so much on so many of them. The false stat one, at least his range allows him to take advantage of that extra damage he's going to be doing because he's kind of unique. But in the cases of Arthas, it's just too much of an increase.
Yeah, definitely. Willie?
I'm kind of in the same boat with Charlie. It's a cautious thumbs up. I like the changes overall. Again, I don't really have an opinion on Arthas at all. Just because I simply I don't play him, but I'm actually pretty enthusiastic about that Johanna change, and I'm very, very curious to see how the competitive meta starts playing out tomorrow, because I think people are going to see that. I think the removal of that mini stun is going to just shy people away really hard from Muradin, because that was one of his best. That was one of the best things about Muradin was you jump on a channeler's head and just punch him once.
Well, yeah, if we see a Lili Chen comp tomorrow, we'll know. It had an impact.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, it's a thumbs up. I like where Blizzard's going with this. It's keeping the game fresh. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of the every week idea. If that's the route they're going, that's kind of what I was getting the feeling from previous tweets from Dustin.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather see every other week, just because like rattling the cage every week is going to get annoying after a bit.
Well, yeah, and they said they did say it wouldn't be every week. They said it would take place on Wednesday, and they would be a lot more frequent. Okay. So right now, this is just the start of that. But I don't think, like, for the rest of our Heroes of the Storm lifetime, we're going to have a change every Wednesday.
Yeah, like I feel this will be the last change until the patch, which I think is on the 9th of February.
Yep.
For Li Ming. So I mean, we'll have a couple weeks to play with these changes and see how impactful they are. And like you said though, Charlie, this kind of gives them the flexibility. If the Greymane changes are just like way too good, they can come back next week and bring them back down. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, cautious thumbs up for me as well. Any closing thoughts? I think that's kind of it. Unless anyone else has anything else to say.
No, I've got nothing. Pretty much, we can go ahead and close out. Everyone, thank you for watching tonight. You guys are awesome. Like I said, whenever a patch drops, we're going to be doing this. We're going to be bringing the Power Hour crew in. We're going to go down the patch notes. Feel free to let us know what you think of the patch notes when we're doing this. I mean, discussion is great. Like if you think we're full of crap, say, hey, I think you're wrong on this, and here's why. But shout outs to the incoming show, the West March workshop coming up for Diablo 3 with 9-Ball, and I believe Leviathan's on the show again this week. If you're not a Diablo 3 player, check it out. They're really passionate about the game. They love Diablo 3. They're two funny people as well. And every time I end up watching that show, I end up firing up Diablo 3, much to my chagrin every time. I don't like Diablo 3, but those guys somehow suck me into it.
They'll make you want to play. That's for sure.
Yeah,
and I learn a lot every week. I listen to that show, and they play hardcore, which is something I could never put my full time into.
I remember asking 9-Ball one day if he could help me. He's like, "Oh, I play hardcore." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know." And I'm like, "How far is your character?" And he's like, "Oh, we're like 600 Paragon right now." And I'm like, "What in the? How do you go that long without dying?" Oh my god,
that's insane. It's just
it is.
I mean, they've done it every season, so they have it kind of down to a little bit of a science now.
And there's a bit of a special announcement we're going to drop on right now, which you'll probably see on the YouTube as well once this gets transferred over. We are going to start doing a community night either Friday or Saturday. And anybody who's watching is welcome to hit us with your battle tag. We'll add you in. We'll play with you. And, invite you to our Discord channel. And let's just have a good time. Just chill. We want to play with you. It's a little different from the gameplay portion of the Power Hour, because it's not just for patrons. It's for everyone, and we love you. We love that you come out. We love that you listen to us, and we want to give back. So some nights it might be all three of us online. Some nights it might be just Charlie. Some nights it just be me. Or any combination of the two. But just hit us up with your battle tag when we start firing that up, and let's have just a grand old time.
I concur.
Me as well. So,
So yeah, stay tuned for the West March workshop coming up here real soon. Tell them that the Power Hour guys sent you and enjoy.